The weight of our bonds. Have you ever felt a deep heaviness in your relationships, like a bond that once nurtured you has become a chain holding you back? What if I told you that? Sometimes, letting go isn't an act of cruelty but one of profound compassion, for yourself and for others. In the vast web of human relationships, family and friends are often our closest connections. They anchor us in times of need and uplift us during moments of despair. But what happens when these sacred bonds begin to drain our energy, disrupt our peace, or stunt our spiritual growth? In Zen and Buddhist teachings, attachment is described as the root of suffering. This doesn't mean we should reject love or care, but it reminds us that not every relationship is meant to last forever. Today, we'll explore 9 signs that may signal it's time to let go, even when it feels like the hardest thing to do. Stick with me until the end, where we'll share not only the wisdom of ancient teachings but also real-life examples and practical steps to help you navigate these difficult decisions with grace and clarity. When the relationship is rooted in harm, true relationships are meant to nourish the soul, offering mutual growth, respect, and emotional security. However, when a relationship becomes a source of harm, manifesting through belittlement, exploitation, or emotional pain, it no longer aligns with the core principles of humanity or spirituality. This deviation directly contradicts the Buddhist principle of ahimsa, or non-violence, which calls for us to avoid causing harm to others and ourselves. The Zen parable, Compassion versus Self-Destruction, a timeless Zen parable beautifully illustrates this principle. A compassionate monk came across a venomous snake injured by the roadside. His heart filled with kindness. The monk took the snake in and nursed it back to health. However, even after being saved, the snake bit the monk repeatedly. At first, the monk rationalized the bites as part of the healing process. But over time, he realized the truth: the snake's nature was to bite, and remaining in its presence was endangering his own life. Compassion doesn't mean self-sacrifice to the point of self-destruction. Recognizing this, the monk released the snake, understanding that leaving was an act of wisdom and self-preservation. This parable speaks to the reality of harmful relationships. Just as the monk had to let go of the snake to preserve his well-being, we too must recognize when staying connected to someone causes more harm than good. Real-life examples of letting go. This principle of walking away from harm applies universally, from ordinary lives to those of powerful and influential figures. Let's explore some examples of individuals who made the difficult decision to leave harmful relationships, ultimately transforming their lives. Meghan Markle and the British royal family, the Duchess of Sussex. Meghan Markle faced immense scrutiny and emotional harm from both the British media and within the royal institution. Despite her efforts to integrate and contribute positively, the environment became increasingly toxic, threatening her mental health and peace of mind. Alongside Prince Harry, Meghan chose to step away from royal duties, prioritizing their family's well-being over tradition and societal expectations. This decision, though controversial, exemplifies the strength required to walk away from harm, even when it means leaving a prestigious institution. Elon Musk and his tumultuous relationships. Elon Musk, one of the most innovative entrepreneurs of our time, has faced challenges in personal and professional relationships. Musk has openly spoken about ending partnerships and relationships that stifled his creativity or added undue stress to his life. His willingness to cut ties when necessary has allowed him to focus on his vision for companies like Tesla and SpaceX, proving that prioritizing one's mission and mental clarity often requires difficult decisions. Michelle Obama's advocacy for boundaries. Michelle Obama has often shared advice on the importance of setting boundaries, even in close relationships. As the First Lady, she encountered situations where she had to navigate relationships that didn't align with her values or emotional well-being. Her emphasis on creating spaces that foster positivity and growth demonstrates the importance of protecting one's peace, even in high-pressure environments. Understanding the psychological toll, remaining in a harmful relationship takes a significant toll on one's mental and emotional health. Constant criticism, emotional manipulation, or exploitation can lead to long-term consequences such as anxiety, depression, and diminished self-esteem. From a Buddhist perspective, allowing oneself to endure such harm is not an act of compassion but a failure to honor the sacredness of one's own life. Compassion starts with oneself, and walking away from harm is an act of self-love. The spiritual perspective, walking away as an act of love, in Buddhism. The concept of karuna, compassion, extends to oneself. Leaving a harmful relationship is not an act of hatred or cruelty. Instead, it reflects a deep compassion for both yourself and the other person. Staying in a toxic relationship often perpetuates cycles of harm, allowing the other person to avoid facing the consequences of their actions. Walking away can be a catalyst for growth for both parties, as it forces reflection and accountability. Consider this: if a friend or family member repeatedly crosses your boundaries, refusing to acknowledge the pain they cause, your continued presence may enable their behavior. Stepping away becomes an act of love. It gives both you and the other person the opportunity to heal and grow. Practical steps for letting go. Walking away from a harmful relationship is rarely easy, especially when it involves close family or long-standing friendships. However, taking these steps can make the process more manageable. Acknowledge the reality. Take an honest look at the relationship. Are your boundaries consistently violated? Do you feel drained, disrespected, or unsafe? Recognizing the harm is the first step toward liberation. Set clear boundaries. Communicate your needs and limits clearly. Sometimes, people are unaware of the impact of their behavior, and addressing it directly may lead to change. However, if the harm continues despite your efforts, it's a sign that the relationship may need to end. Seek support. Surround yourself with individuals who uplift and support you. Whether it's friends, family, or a therapist, having a strong support system can provide the emotional strength needed to let go. Practice forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning harmful behavior. Instead, it allows you to release resentment and anger, freeing yourself from the emotional weight of the relationship. Embrace change. Buddhism teaches the principle of anicca, impermanence. Accept that all relationships, no matter how significant, are subject to change. This acceptance can make it easier to let go. Lessons from letting go. Walking away from a harmful relationship isn't just about ending pain, it's about creating space for growth and authenticity. When you remove toxicity from your life, you open the door for healthier connections to flourish. Consider how letting go allowed figures like Meghan Markle and Elon Musk to thrive in their respective paths. By prioritizing their well-being, they set an example of courage and self-respect for others to follow. The bigger picture, aligning with Buddhist teachings. Letting go of harmful relationships aligns with core Buddhist teachings, including non-violence, ahimsa, compassion, karuna, and impermanence, anicca. It is an act of honoring your spiritual journey and choosing liberation over suffering. As the Buddha taught, you cannot save others if you drown in the same waters. By stepping away from harm, you preserve your energy for the relationships and endeavors that truly matter. A final thought: The strength to release, letting go requires immense courage. But it is a profound act of self-care and growth. It's not about rejecting the other person but about recognizing that the connection no longer serves its purpose. Like the monk who released the snake. We must sometimes make painful decisions to protect our well-being. And in doing so, we pave the way for a life rooted in peace, authenticity, and joy. When you feel unseen and unheard, in Buddhism, the principle of samādhi emphasizes harmony and balance. Not only within oneself but also in relationships. Genuine connections flourish through mutual respect, understanding, and validation. However, what happens when these foundational elements are absent? When your voice is silenced, your feelings dismissed, or your very essence overlooked? The relationship begins to erode your sense of self. The symbolism of the trampled flower: imagine a vibrant flower blooming in an open field. It doesn't demand admiration. Nor does it bloom for external validation. Yet, if the flower is repeatedly trampled underfoot, it begins to wither. This metaphor mirrors the experience of feeling unseen and unheard in relationships. You, like the flower, have an intrinsic value that deserves to be honored. If someone refuses to acknowledge your uniqueness, it becomes imperative to evaluate the connection. It's not your responsibility to keep blooming for those who fail to appreciate your essence. The psychological impact of feeling unseen, being unseen and unheard in a relationship, can take a profound toll on mental and emotional well-being. It fosters feelings of insignificance, lowers self-esteem, and can even lead to anxiety and depression. For example, in professional environments, employees who feel undervalued are more likely to disengage and underperform. This phenomenon is not limited to workplaces but extends to personal relationships, where lack of validation can stagnate personal growth and happiness. Examples of letting go for authenticity: Oprah Winfrey's journey to self-acceptance. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential figures in media, has often spoken about her struggles with relationships where she felt undervalued. Early in her career, she encountered professional dynamics that didn't honor her talents or vision. By walking away from such environments and pursuing spaces where her voice could be amplified, she created a platform that not only celebrated her uniqueness but also empowered millions. Taylor Swift and creative freedom. Taylor Swift's public fallout with her former record label is another powerful example. Feeling unheard in her desire to own her music, Swift chose to re-record her albums, reclaiming her narrative and asserting her worth. Her decision to let go of a professional relationship that stifled her creative freedom resonated with fans worldwide, showcasing the importance of standing up for oneself. Barack Obama's emphasis on respect. Barack Obama has often highlighted the importance of mutual respect in his relationships, both personal and professional. During his presidency, he surrounded himself with advisors who valued his voice and vision, ensuring a harmonious and productive environment. This principle extended to his personal life, where he emphasized the necessity of listening and being heard as cornerstones of a strong partnership. The Buddhist perspective: harmony and respect. From a Buddhist standpoint, the principle of samādhi calls for relationships that foster balance and mutual growth. When one party consistently feels unheard or unseen, the relationship lacks this harmony, creating discord. Buddhism teaches that clinging to such relationships is a form of attachment that leads to suffering. Letting go, though painful, is a step toward restoring inner peace and balance. Recognizing the signs. How do you know when a relationship has reached this point? The signs may include constant dismissal of your opinions or feelings, a lack of interest in your aspirations or experiences, a dynamic where you are always giving but never receiving acknowledgement or support. These patterns create an imbalance, contradicting the Buddhist ideal of interdependence, where both parties contribute equally to the relationship's growth. Practical steps to address the issue: self-reflection. Begin by evaluating the relationship. Are you consistently feeling unheard? Is there a recurring pattern of dismissal? Recognizing the issue is the first step toward resolution. Communication. Address your concerns openly with the other person. Sometimes individuals are unaware of the impact of their actions, and a candid conversation can lead to change. Establish boundaries. If the behavior persists, set clear boundaries to protect your emotional well-being. This may involve limiting your interactions or redefining the nature of the relationship. Seek validation elsewhere. Surround yourself with people who value and celebrate your unique essence. Building a supportive network can help counteract the effects of feeling unseen. Let go if necessary, if the relationship continues to drain your energy and hinder your growth. Consider letting it go. As Buddhism teaches, detachment from harmful attachments is a path to liberation, transforming pain into growth. Letting go of a relationship where you feel unseen is not just an end, it's a beginning. It creates space for authentic connections to enter your life. Think of the trampled flower, once removed from a hostile environment and replanted in fertile soil. It blooms again, often more vibrantly than before. Lessons from the process: you are enough. Feeling unseen often leads to self-doubt. Remind yourself that your worth is not determined by others' recognition. You, like the flower, have inherent beauty and value. Authenticity attracts authenticity. By honoring your essence and refusing to settle for less, you attract relationships that align with your values and aspirations. Change is natural. Buddhism teaches the principle of anicca, impermanence. Relationships, like all things, evolve. Letting go is not a failure but an acknowledgement of life's natural flow, moving forward with clarity, as you release relationships that no longer serve you. Take time to cultivate self-awareness and inner peace. Practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and journaling can help you reconnect with your true self. Embrace this period as an opportunity for growth, remembering that every ending paves the way for a new beginning. The gift of being truly seen. By letting go of relationships where you feel unseen and unheard, you open the door to connections that celebrate and nurture your unique essence. These authentic bonds, rooted in mutual respect and understanding, align with the Buddhist ideal of harmony. They uplift your spirit, allowing you to thrive and bloom fully, just as you were always meant to. When the relationship hinders your growth, relationships, like rivers, should flow toward enlightenment. But if someone in your life anchors you in negativity, resentment, or stagnation, they're obstructing your path. As Zen Koan asks, what do you carry that is too heavy? Often, the heaviest burdens are relationships that resist your growth. Maybe it's a family member who mocks your ambitions or a friend who discourages your spiritual journey. Releasing these ties isn't abandonment, it's a step toward liberation. As the Buddha taught, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. When love turns conditional, true love, according to Zen, is unconditional. It flows freely, without demands or expectations. But some relationships bind love with conditions, demanding that you conform to their mold or fulfill their desires. Let me tell you a story. A young sapling once grew in the shadow of an ancient tree. The old tree claimed to protect it. But in truth, its branches blocked the sunlight, stunting the sapling's growth. Love should nurture, not suffocate. If someone's affection feels transactional, it's no longer love, it's control. By letting go, you free both parties to rediscover the purity of unconditional love. When forgiveness becomes impossible, forgiveness is a cornerstone of Buddhist practice. But it doesn't mean tolerating repeated harm. It means releasing anger and resentment. There's a Zen proverb, a broken pot may still hold water, but a shattered one cannot. Some relationships are so fractured that reconciliation becomes impossible. Holding on only prolongs the suffering. Walking away allows forgiveness to heal your heart while respecting your boundaries. When lies erode trust, trust is the foundation of any meaningful connection. But when deceit enters a relationship, it breaks the sacred principle of satya, truth. Imagine crossing a bridge made of shadows. Lies, like shadows, cannot support the weight of a relationship. Detachment becomes the only way to honor the truth and seek authentic bonds. When the energy exchange becomes one-sided in Zen philosophy, dana, generosity, emphasizes balance. Relationships flourish when both parties give and receive. But if you're constantly pouring energy into someone who never reciprocates, the imbalance drains your vitality. Think of a gardener who waters a barren plot for years, hoping for growth. Eventually, they realize their energy is better spent nurturing fertile soil. Recognize when a relationship has become barren and redirect your energy to connections that thrive on mutual care. When guilt chains you to the bond, guilt is a heavy chain often used to bind us to toxic relationships. Buddhism teaches that guilt arises from avidya, ignorance. You owe no one your suffering. As a Zen master once said, if guilt holds you back, ask whose voice whispers in your ear. Is it your own? Or someone else's? Often, guilt is a tool of control. Recognize it for what it is and choose freedom over fear. When staying compromises your inner peace is the cornerstone of spiritual practice. If a relationship consistently disturbs your equilibrium, it contradicts the Buddhist pursuit of nirvana, freedom from suffering. As Zen teachings remind us, if your house is on fire, leave it. Do not stay and argue with the flames. Walking away is not a failure, it's an affirmation of your right to peace and happiness. The wisdom of letting go, when we release relationships that no longer serve us. Doubt, guilt, and grief often follow. But remember, cutting ties isn't a rejection of the person, it's a recognition that the connection has become a source of suffering. Each relationship is like a plant in a garden. Some bloom beautifully, while others wilt despite our best care. To hold on to dead roots is to deprive the flourishing ones of sunlight and space. Conclusion: the freedom of detachment. As you reflect on your relationships, ask yourself, are they helping you grow? Are they rooted in love and respect? Are they aligned with your higher self? If the answer is no, remember that letting go isn't an end, it's a beginning. It's the first step toward a life of peace, authenticity, and fulfillment. In the words of the Buddha, you cannot travel the path until you have become the path itself. By letting go of what no longer serves you, you become the embodiment of the path, resilient, compassionate, and free. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on my channel to stay updated with more content like this. Click the subscribe button below and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any updates. Also, feel free to leave a comment.